This is Everything is Personal with Len and May.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Everything is Personal. As always, the star of the show, my co-host, actually, probably, I don't know, is a co-host? I guess my co-host.
But co-host.
Star.
I'm really your id. But no, I mean, I am your co-host, but I also, I'm your enhancer. You know, This is your show. You say I'm the star of the show. This is the Len May show. I'm just here for the ride. I'm the Robin Quivers. I laugh at the jokes. I maybe offer some witty banter.
Well, you should laugh a little bit more then.
I should.
If you're Robin Quivers, if you're comparing yourself.
It's true. I know. She's so good at that. We should actually just hire somebody who just laughs at all our jokes. That would be that's a great, if anybody's interested, please send a resume.
Yeah. So how you doing?
I'm well. I'm doing well. I think I'm wearing my Beastie Boys shirt today.
I did notice that that License to Ill shirt. I had the exact same shirt. And the funny thing is, I had it today. I was like, which shirt should I wear? And I had that one in my hand. I was like, you know what? I wore Beasties before. Let me represent the woo.
Oh, woo. Represent.
Got the woo.
That's a really good one. That's a cool.
Since you are going like Japanese, Asian style, it's got the dragon on there and all that stuff.
And my License to Ill Beastie Boys shirt is it's actually, I mean, it's the cover of their album, but it's also it looks like it's a poster to a show in Madison Square Garden in 87. I can't even imagine seeing the Beasties at Madison Square Garden in 87. That must have been an insane show. That was when they were in their just insane party phase, which they're embarrassed about now.
It was the Rick Rubin show where he was watching like professional wrestling and he was getting everybody riled up.
Right. That was the show. And they're almost embarrassed about this phase of their career, although the music that they put out during this time was extraordinary. And all represent to Woo. I saw Woo's documentary on Showtime. Have you seen that? I recommend it. That was really interesting.
Incredible. Yeah.
I knew nothing about it.
There was a really bad show, I think. I'm not connecting to it on the Hulu about it's not a documentary, but it's a show about the Woo.
Is it the one where it's a scripted show, right?
Yeah, it's a scripted show.
I as soon as I heard it was scripted,
I'm trying, but it's
want to like it.
It's so put on and it really doesn't connect.
Is there?
To me.
Did you see The Undoing? We can cut this part if you didn't. Do you watch that show?
No.
The Undoing? No. Okay, we'll cut that part. Because I just wanted to know. The Undoing. No, you shouldn't. The only reason it's an HBO show and it had kind of a cliffhanger ending and they just had the last episode. So if you had seen it, we could banter about that. But anyway, so a lot is going on in the world of cannabis this week, right? I mean, it is like
there's a lot going on in the world.
In the world. And then cannabis happens to just be going for the ride.
Yeah, we have a lockdown coming again in LA, so that's always interesting.
That's always pleasant.
Yeah, I went on. I'm not even sure I'm supposed to talk about it because what happens in my men's group stays in my men's group. We're not supposed, but I'll talk.
Doesn't matter. Nobody listens to this podcast.
Yeah, anyway. That's true. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's just you and I. So I had this thing where I have a really, I don't know if it's a fear, a disdain for the cold. I hate the cold. Even though I'm from Philly, I can't stand it. I hate the feeling of being cold. So we're going on a pretty intense hike, 3.5 hour hike up to Skull Rock in the middle of the night with no lights.
Have you done this?
Darkness. Yeah. I just did that on Tuesday.
Oh my goodness.
So this time around, and this would have been my third time. The first time I literally thought I was going to die. Like my heart was like jumping out of my chest. I was sweating. I started losing sensation in my legs, and the guy back of me was like pushing me up so I could make.
This sounds like me on an edible.
Well, we do consume. And the first time we did it with a microdose of psilocybin, which was interesting, and then we do consume a little bit of cannabis, just a little bit,
right?
To enhance.
But okay, so I cut you off. So you're going up this hill and your heart is being out of your chest. Why is that? Just because it's so cold that you're.
No. This was the first time I did it. I was so out of shape.
I see.
Shape that I couldn't make. It was very intense. It's 3.5 hours. It's pitch darkness, and what you're doing is you're just relying on the person in front of you. So this time around, we get out, and it's a relatively cold night. I mean, LA cold. We're like,
it gets a little chilly in the hills. Yeah,
we're pretty much pussies. I mean, it's like 52 degrees. Oh my God, it's freezing. Where's my scarf?
Exactly.
But so we get out, and the guy who's leading the group, he's like, we're going to do it a little bit differently this time. So we're going to do it in silence, and we're going to do it with an intention of love. We have one of our brothers is sick. He's got from COVID actually, symptoms. The other guys really didn't. So we're praying and sending love to him. But he said, but we're going to do it shirtless this time around. I was like, what? I am not doing it shirtless.
It's the Polar Bear Club. Yeah.
I am freezing. Well, we already did the polar bear thing in the dead of winter. We jumped in the ocean, and I was like, man.
Now, why are you doing these things? What's the, is it just?
Well, this is a men's group. We just get together as brothers. We support each other and all these things. But the reason why, it depends on who's leading the group. The reason why I'm this time I'm doing these things is to overcome certain obstacles and be able to prove to yourself that you can do anything. Like, you feel really good when you're able to overcome something, and a lot of things are really in your brain. So you think you're much more powerful than you think that you are when you're faced with a challenge. And when you overcome that challenge, you feel much stronger. So I don't know if you're familiar with David Goggins. He's a guy that he did BUDS training, like SEAL Special Forces 3 times. He wrote this book, Can't Hurt Me, and he did this whole. And I highly recommend this book. It's really intense, and the guy he's a crazy maniac at what he does. But he talks about when you really think you can't do something, well, that's all in your mind. You can push yourself beyond many different things. And he has this thing like, lift your arm up as high as you possibly can. You lift it up as high as you possibly can. As high as you possibly can. Yeah. Okay. Now lift it up a little bit more. And you always have a little bit more in you. Right. So that's the whole concept, that you have a little bit more. And if you're fearful of something, if it's something that's unpleasant, like, go for it. And you can overcome that. And this was the thing. So I'm wearing, this is how I'm dressed, by the way. I have a beanie on. I have a t-shirt. I have a hoodie, and I have a jacket.
Right.
And that's how I'm going.
You're layering.
Yeah, layering, because I'll be warmer. I'll take off the jacket. I'll just have the hoodie. Worst case scenario, if I'm hot, which I would doubt it, I would have the t-shirt. He goes, no, shirtless. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. He goes, dude, just do it. You're gonna be fine. And he's a doctor. I'm like, all right, well, if the doctor says you're gonna be fine. So I start walking over there, and I have a t-shirt on, and we're walking towards the hike, and I'm shivering in a t-shirt. Granted, 50 some degrees, it's not that cold, but whatever, it's cold. I am so cold. But within, I'd say 10 minutes of hiking, when I took my shirt off, I was warm.
I went away. You got used.
And then we stopped 3 times, twice along the way. And then we were doing some things, and I was freezing again because we weren't moving. But as long as you're moving, and so I can overcome it. But yeah, man, it was intense, 3.5 hours.
Now, are you happy that you overcame that? It's not fear of the cold, but do you think it'll make you more tolerant of the cold now?
No, because I was freezing. I was out last night, and I was sitting there, and I was like, "Where's the heat lamp? I'm freezing." Last night wasn't that cold. No, it's not that. But I know that I can.
You can do it. Yeah.
It's. I don't like to feel uncomfortable, but if I'm put in a situation, and all of us are put in a situation, we have a lot more in us than we think we do, and we can overcome that. And we'll do an episode about personal development. People make fun of me all the time. Oh, like Tony Robbins, this, that. I'm like, yeah, but it's not about you're not following a cult leader. You're not a sheep. You're taking bits and pieces of information that's provided to you, and you create that for yourself. If you're not growing, then you're dying. I mean, so it's all about.
No, I'm glad you made that distinction about the cult leader, because it's interesting. I just did a podcast interview this morning with a woman who specializes in cults and deprogramming people from cults. And, her definition really of a cult is like a charismatic leader where you're following somebody. And so, like, sometimes my hesitation with things like, and we can talk about this in another podcast, because my background with cults is kind of bad, but you have
the guru, right?
I had the guru. Yeah. I mean, the MC guru, and then I actually had a true guru, although it was my family's guru. So it was not something that I had chosen to be in initially. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But I think the point is that, like, yeah, I think if you find value in these things, and they give you, and help you grow as a person, I'm all for it. I think whenever you hand over your power to somebody else to tell you what to do, then it becomes a cult and it becomes something completely different, which is why I'm very alarmed about what's happening in the country now with people sort of handing over their agency to a president or some crazy people.
Power. Yeah.
Power.
We think we have this democracy, but do we really? But we can.
Yet another topic. We always come up with topics in the middle of the show.
I know it's
because like me.
The ADD kicks in. You're like a squirrel moment. It's another thing that comes up. But we'll have a whole. We'll put it on the list. We'll have a whole talk about personal development and cults, because I think you and I both have interesting perspectives on that.
For sure.
But you started out talking about cannabis, and a lot of things are going on in cannabis. So I just saw Earl. I may be pronouncing his last name wrong, but Earl Blumauer.
Blumauer.
Does that sound correct?
That guy Earl. I just have a cat named Earl. I love the name Earl.
He's the representative for Oregon, I believe.
We love Oregon. Yeah.
So he's been a huge cannabis activist, and he just posted. I was following him on Instagram, and he posted, like, I waited 47 years to preside over this vote. Like, they're looking at moving, rescheduling or descheduling cannabis. But let me just back up and say a couple things that I know that occurred, and you can tell me some of the things that you know. So what started was the World Health Organization actually got together, and they voted, or their recommendation was to reclassify cannabis. That's basically what they said: reclassify it and look to treat it as a medicine. So the UN, I think yesterday, actually voted. They voted to reclassify cannabis as medicine. Now, I mean, that means so many different things. I mean, medicine has to go through clinical trials and all those other things, but at least the notion of it's a therapeutic product is
and
out
that it's
there.
Not dangerous, right? I think they said that it's not. They said that it's not a dangerous drug. They don't classify it with drugs that are dangerous anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's not harmful, but look, everything in moderation, and there's different things that you can take that's personalized, and definitely it does has adverse effects as anything else that's a therapeutic product. You take too much of it, or you take something that doesn't adhere to you. Like, one of the things when I take my vitamin supplements in the morning, and I don't eat breakfast. When I take them in the morning, one of them I think makes me nauseous. So if I don't have anything, like a little piece of fruit or anything, that's an adverse effect. Like, I'm taking something that's good in my body, but it's making me not feel really well because I'm not correctly consuming it. So like anything else that you would consume. So cannabis is the same way. You consume it correctly, and then you'll have a positive experience optimally.
And too often with cannabis, because it's not regulated and because it's so all over the place in terms of regulations and government, we don't always know how much to take. The dosage is confusing, I think, to a lot of people, especially people, not like people like you who are very experienced with cannabis, but like, I've got the CBD tincture that was just sent to me, Kikoko, and it's good stuff. It's CBD, 1 milligram of THC, 25 milligrams of CBD. It's got theanine in it, GABA, etc. I like it. I have no idea how much I'm supposed to take of this thing. Am I supposed to take an entire dropper full? Am I supposed to take half a dropper? How do I know? It's got THC in it. I don't want to take too much. It's not a lot of THC, but and I think the dosing sometimes is very unclear.
It's very unclear, and when it should say it on there, what is the recommended dose?
Yeah,
it does. It doesn't mean that it's specifically for you,
right? Your weight, your tolerance, right?
All those different things. I like so anyway. The progression is that there may be a descheduling, rescheduling. However, this is where our democracy gets involved, and things don't happen. So what I've been reading is they're trying to squeeze in the bill itself. They're trying to squeeze in a package that includes funding for people that have been affected by the cannabis industry. So people that have been, jailed for cannabis, or people whose lives have been affected.
Mhm.
So now there's a whole battle over money. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. And I'm all for, helping people that have been affected. I know a lot of
Criminalization.
people personally, myself included in certain ways, not to that extent where I didn't luckily spend, time in jail. My life wasn't ruined, but I know plenty of people that did, and I'm 100% for it. But let's do one step at a time. If we're going
Yeah.
to reclassify or declassify, let's go for it. Let's do that. Let's treat this as a therapeutic wellness substance. Let's get it out of this whole scheduling of narcotics and drugs, and then we can have other programs. But because you have this quid pro quo, I'm now starting to have a bad feeling, even though I was really bullish on it in the beginning.
I completely agree. I think this is, I mean, I've interviewed cannabis lobbyists in Washington, and they say this is the biggest problem, is that there's basically two things going on here. One is there's a real effort to legalize cannabis and to descheduleize it, so it's not a Schedule I drug in the country anymore, right? And then there is this other social justice issue with criminalization. They're two separate issues. Honestly, the first one I mentioned is a lot more palpable to politicians than the second one, from what I understanding is. And but this is one where everybody's trying to do everything at once, and I get it. Like, we had Andrew D'Angelo on the show. I'm sure he would say we've got to decriminalize this thing. It's ridiculous. I've talked to people who have gone to jail for 3 years just for carrying marijuana. It's crazy. And that is Looney Tunes, and that will change eventually. But I agree, like, one thing at a time. This keeps sabotaging the movement.
Well, they do it all the time. They try to take their own agenda. So I think I wrote it down. It says reinvestment of collateral consequences. That's the statement in the bill that they squeezed in. Well, I mean, there's so many different definitions of that. Like, what does that mean? I'm affected by cannabis. What are you going to do? Are you going to give me a license first, social equity? What does that all mean? But at the end of the day, it's this battle over some other language they put in there. They do this with bills all the time. So I'm just like concerned.
I'm worried. And also we know that what the Senate is like already, and anything to give them an excuse to shoot this down.
Yeah.
And that is worrisome to me.
Anyway, yeah. So I'm a little bit sore from my hike. I know I went in a different tangent, but I survived it, and it was incredible, and it was a good
and
experience.
You will never get cold again, but you survived it.
I definitely will get cold again, but I did take my my cannabis tincture afterwards, and it reduced the inflammation in my feet and legs. Feel much better. So I have my personalized formulation that helped.
That's great.
To recover. So wanted to talk to you about. You mentioned the Beastie Boys concert and all that stuff. Well, do you remember the first concert you ever attended?
I think I do, but it was the first, so I can't remember. There was two concerts that are the most fresh in my mind. One is that I went to a Grateful Dead concert at Giant Stadium, and I believe that must have been in the sort of mid to late 70s. I remember it very vividly. I went with my friend Adam Schlesinger, the late Adam Schlesinger, great musician who died early this year, one of my best friends. He was always very ahead of me in the music stuff. So he was into the Dead. I didn't even know who the Grateful Dead were. I just thought it was cool to go to a concert with his dad. I can't believe his dad took us to a Dead concert, first of all, but he did. And I just remember that somebody had fallen from the first balcony, like from the upper decks to the ground, right? They flipped, and that was like a big deal. And so that's the memory. The most of the memory I have from that show is that somebody had fallen. I didn't see it happen, but hearing about it and
too much acid.
Yeah, I'm sure it was too much acid. So the Grateful Dead, it was either that or it was the Kinks, in New Jersey somewhere, and that show is very vivid in my mind too. And again, Adam Schlesinger took me. He took me to all the early concerts in my life. He also took me to the Police at Shea Stadium with the Clash. But I regress and answer your questions three ways. I'm gonna go with the Dead because I just feel like that must have been my first concert. I'm not a Deadhead, but indelible memories, and I used to have a Deadhead sticker in the back of my car. No, I didn't.
All great shows, by the way. The Dead.
They are. I mean, the Dead, the Police, and the Clash opening for the Police. I mean, come on.
That's yeah. I'm gonna get a bunch of shit for this.
What'd you get?
I'm not a Dead guy. Like I'll tell you about my concert, but it's not. So I went to a Dead show many, many, many years ago. That was my first one. And I was like, maybe I was in the wrong psychedelic, or maybe I was wrong drug of choice. It just wasn't connecting to me, just jamming and jamming, and 20 minutes goes by and it's still the same song. And I was like, so I went to the tent outside to the disco and hung out with people there, and that connected with me. But the last time I was dating this girl who was really into the Dead, and we went to Dead and Company, and we did a little bit of microdosing with psilocybin, and there was only
that always makes it better a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's part of the whole ritual. But so it's at the Bowl, and John, I think John Mayer, whatever you think of him, I think as a guitar player, I think he's incredible. He's just a supreme talented guitar player. So I'm on the shuttle to get to the Bowl, and everybody around me is a big Deadhead. So my friend starts talking to the other guys and about like the music, and I'm like, hey guys, you got to admit that John Mayer is a better guitar player than Jerry Garcia. Oh shit. And that started the whole thing. And they were like, God. No. And I'm like, no, I'm not telling you that Jerry Garcia is not better than John. He's overall, that's the soul of Grateful Dead. That is, I completely think, and I'm not, there's no replacing him. I'm just saying, as a technical player, John Mayer is way better. So they never agreed with me. But at the end, there was two guys that said, you know what, as a player, technically, he is better. And then my friend ended up passing out at the concert, right? Because he had a little bit too much of alcohol with whatever other substance.
John Mayer likes his cannabis too.
He much does. Of an advocate. When I used to have a delivery service, we used to use this is in the gray area, but it's past, so whatever.
Right.
We used to use Uber drivers. They were as before between delivering, and my partner, one of my partners had an Uber X. So he had a big Mercedes, so he would pick up people using Uber, and I think the car smelled. So John Mayer, he picked up John Mayer, and he asked him, hey, it smells like weed. Do you have any weed? And he ended up selling weed with a delivery service. So yeah, he likes this.
He likes this book. Jimi Hendrix or John Mayer, who's better?
Oh no, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, by far, it's
right. It's not even close, right?
He's an innovator. I mean, you have Jimi Hendrix, you have Eddie Van Halen. I have
rest in peace.
Halen. I mean, you have people that created a certain sound, like John Mayer, Joe Bonamassa. Like they're virtuoso. They're from early age. Like Joe, I think he was mentored by B.B. King. When you're a virtuoso and you can play the instrument incredibly, you can do many different things. It doesn't mean that you are an innovator. Like Eddie and Jimmy and a lot of these guys, they create their own style. And we create their own style. It's like everybody then follows that style. Right. But I mean, John is just an incredible player, but he's not.
Yeah, he could be like a studio musician or something, but he's like,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, my concert.
What was it?
My first concert was Pink Floyd. That's the first concert they had without Roger Waters when they got back together in early 80s. I can't remember the date, but we can look it up. It's a JFK Stadium in Philadelphia that no longer exists. It held 120,000 people. It was a huge stadium. On that site, they built 3 stadiums now, so you can imagine how big.
Right, amazing.
And I went with my dad and my uncle, because my dad, I wouldn't say my parents are big music people, but like Beatles and Pink Floyd, and my dad liked that, so
he was into it.
He's never been to a concert either, really, or since he was a kid. So he and his brother, who both like Pink Floyd, and I went, and then 2 of my friends. So it's 3 of us and 2 of them. So they sat in front of us, and we sat in the seats right behind them. So, the concert's incredible. And then there's a joint that gets passed. This is my first time trying to sneak a joint and pass it around everywhere. And my dad, and it was loud. And my dad and my uncle, they were getting annoyed. And people, they don't know how to be at a concert. Then the guy right behind my dad ended up puking. And he's kept bumping into him and puking. And my dad was like, that's it.
We're out.
Never ever going to another concert. And guess what? We never went to
Oh,
ever. That was the first and last concert that we ever went to together, which is fine. I've been to.
I mean,
hundreds
I
and
get
hundreds.
it. I've taken my kid to a lot of concerts, and every time I take him, I'm like, I don't necessarily need to do this again. But yeah, I mean, concerts are tough. Concerts,
I love it. I love it.
I do love them, but it can be. I remember going to a baseball game with my dad, and like, I'd always beg him to take me to Yankees games. He took me to a game, and just the guys behind us were like just screaming profanities, like "you motherfucking fucker, fuck!" And eventually, my father, being my father, turned around and said, "Could you guys just, keep the tone of the language down? I'm with my son or whatever." Trying to be very reasonable with a bunch of drunk construction workers from New Jersey that came to a Yankee game.
Yeah.
They stared him. I was so scared. They stared him down, and then they made it worse. Like they upped it. Like,
Of course.
"Stuck on my balls, you fucking queer ass." And it was like, it was bad. So I subsequently I never went to another game with my father, baseball game. I don't think he ever took me to.
Well, I mean, I'm from Philly, so I mean that's
yeah, you get
we went to one game, and that's if you don't hear any of that stuff, and
yeah, there's something wrong.
Rare.
There's not at least 10 fights within the 5.
Oh, I mean, especially if you go like the worst. If this is in order, the worst is a Dallas Cowboys game.
Yeah,
and it's like a Redskins. They're not called Redskins. I don't know what they're called now. I don't think
they're called the Washington Football Team or something. National. They are. They're called the Washington Football Team.
I mean, all right.
Yeah.
I'm all about political correctness and all that stuff, but
they've got to come up with a name.
Come up with a name. I mean, the Washington Football Team. So the Washington
dysfunctions, the Washington D.C. dysfunctionals. Anyway,
so yeah, so that team, the old Redskins, and then the Giants. So there used to be a stadium called the Veteran Stadium. And
famously where Queen performed.
Yes.
Right.
Queen.
Isn't that Queen at Veteran Stadium?
Didn't they perform Wembley during Live Aid?
No, okay, but there's something great that happened. Maybe it was Farm Aid. Something great happened at Veteran Stadium. We've got to look that up.
Well, Live Aid was, but what they were doing is they were doing two
I see.
stadiums.
Queen, yes, Queen was in Wembley. God, Wembley. I got it wrong again. God damn it. Sorry. Yeah, Queen. Of course, Queen was at Wembley.
Yeah, but it was. But anyway, incredible. Yeah, Live Aid was.
So Live Aid was coming from. But let me just make sure I'm not completely senile. Live Aid was a concert that happened between Wembley Stadium and the stadium in Philly.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, Veteran Stadium. Yeah.
I think it was JFK, but maybe you're right.
I think it was called Veteran Stadium.
Okay, then it's Veteran Stadium.
No,
it was in Philly. It was in Philly and London. So we'll
okay.
And we'll look it up. We'll get fact checkers to look.
We really have to have a fact checker who's just in the corner, kind of being like, "John,
the memory
are you freaking kidding me?" Queen,
pretty good
at Veteran Stadium.
Yeah, but Queen was Wembley. I remember.
All right, I'm sorry. You were saying about your was the last.
So this stadium was infamous for having its own court. In the basement of the stadium, they had Judge Seamus something, and which I don't remember either. But they could actually get people. That's how bad it was. It had to have its own court.
Incredible.
So, and you're sitting in the 700 level of Veteran Stadium, which is where I used to sit because that's where the action happens. Football is not the best sport to actually go watch live. It just moves really, really fast and then slow between plays.
Yeah, it's boring. It's boring.
It's much better watching TV, but for an atmosphere, just to kind of get out there and feel it, man, that was just the most incredible experience. So you have characters or like you have a guy, especially Dallas games. You have a guy that sits there and they do the Eagles chant, and the one guy has a rope with hats that he burns of different teams. So he burns at the end of the game the hat, and a partially burned hat he puts on the rope. Then you have this guy that's dressed like an eagle, and this construction worker. Anyway, all these different characters. So we're playing the Cowboys, and it's really cold. So we're like, drinking, we're sitting there freezing. And there was a Dallas Cowboy fan. And this is a big mistake.
Don't do that.
Just do not say anything. Don't even wear your gear. Like, no. I'm just telling you.
You can really literally be killed.
For your own safety.
Yeah.
The guy stood up and said, first they were fucking with the entire game. Then he stood up and said something because Dallas made a play, or I don't remember. Man, he took such a beating. They were pummeling him. Not only that, but then they got his shoe and they took his shoes and his shoes were paraded around the stadium like it was some sort of trophy where we won.
Mob mentality. I know.
Oh my God, it was
terrifying.
It was just an insane. I would never, ever, ever take my daughter, to the link is much more family friendly, but the old Veteran Stadium there, I would have never taken her to see an Eagles game. But here in LA,
pretty
when
mellow.
I go to see, oh my God, we
although a San Francisco fan was killed in the parking lot a few years ago, so it's not that mellow.
It's definitely not that mellow, but I'll tell you from personal experience.
It's a family. Yeah.
I went to watch the Eagles Rams. I like the Rams, but I'm an Eagles fan, and I would say at least half the stadium was Eagles fans, and they were in the Rams fans' faces and all that stuff, and everything was cool. I didn't see any fights or anything. It was friendly back and forth, but yeah, those Eagles fans,
they're bad. I always feel bad for LA. All the fans, whenever I go to games that have like a really popular fan base, like a Chicago Cubs game, there's always so many more fans of the other team. LA fans they're diehard, but like, I don't know, they just get outnumbered by all the Boston Red Sox fans.
If you look at the sports, Lakers, they get a lot of Laker
love
fans.
Maybe the Dodgers.
Dodgers too, I was going to say, but football there was never a football team here.
I know. The Rams, I know.
I mean, Rams went to St. Louis. They were here and then they left. And
there's no loyalty.
No, and the Raiders went to Vegas now. So Anyway, I'm not a sports guy, but so that was my first concert, and so that was a quite an interesting experience. Just to switch subjects for a sec. I was talking to a friend of mine, and they were telling me how much teachers influenced them in their life. They were saying, I had these incredible teachers, and they did this, and they did that, and I remember Mrs. So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so. So I went back, and I was actually rereading some of the chapters of my book because I was going through editing process. And I'm like, I don't talk about any of that stuff. Do I actually remember my teachers? Is there a teacher that made an impact in my life? And no. The answer is no.
Wow.
There was no.
You never had a teacher.
I can barely remember my teacher's name. I remember some of the ones that I had some incidents with that I can talk about. Those stood out in my mind. But a teacher that took my hand and said, "Okay, I'm gonna. You're a diamond in the rough, or you're an underachiever. I'm gonna help you." Nothing like that. So I was wondering if you had, and then I'll tell.
I feel fortunate then. I can't say that I've had a lot of teachers but I have definitely had. There's two teachers that really stand out. And interestingly enough, in my professional life, when I got to be a grown up, I visited them in different capacities. And I'll tell you, the first teacher was my fourth grade teacher, Mr. Roberts, who has seemed to have disappeared off the face of the earth. I looked him up recently. He used to be on my Facebook, and I'm worried that he might not be with us anymore. But I can't explain how profound Mr. Roberts was in my life. And not because he was like a great teacher. Like, I don't think I learned a single thing in fact, I was behind, I think, the next year because his class was so academically unrigorous. But what he did was I can't believe that this was even allowed. He set up this he would have these little competitions during the year where we'd all do these things. We had this thing called the laugh game, for example, where we'd all sit around in a circle and somebody would be in the middle of the circle and he would have to try to make everybody in the circle laugh. I mean, this is a school class, right? And I thankfully won that one year. I actually was able to make everybody in the class laugh, except for this one kid who was a really tough kid named John Vermont. It was very hard to make laugh, but I had one little move that I did that made him laugh at the end.
What's the move?
It was horribly offensive, but there was I won't even explain it because it's horrible, but let's just say that I smushed my nose and I said smidget, and it referred to a extremely offensive and unpolitically correct reference, but it made him laugh very, very loud. And so, but anyway, when you won these contests, there was all sorts of contests. He would give you candy at the end of the month. You would get fake money, and then you would he would have a candy store set up, and you could buy candy. You would learn the value of money by being able to buy candy with the money that you earned in these. It was incredible. So Mr. Roberts totally took me out of my shell. Awesome. I thank him. And then later I went and visited Mr. Roberts at the same school and wrote an article about him, just about how influential he was in my life.
That's cool.
So he's gone. I don't know where he is. Mr. Roberts, if you're listening to this, I still love you, Jeff Roberts. Then there was Miss Blanche Boyd, who I interviewed on my podcast a few years ago. She was a writing teacher, probably the reason I became a writer. She just was a working writer. a Southerner, like real had terrible alcohol, recovering alcoholic, real Southern voice. And, you know, like those Southern writers, they're so intense. And, she was gay and she was just raw and she loved writing so much. And she would read to us in every class. She would read these stories to us and just like mesmerize us with the way she told stories. And she encouraged me to continue writing. She does not remember me.
Right.
But I interviewed her now she remembers me because she just released a book and I put her on my podcast. And then she was like, you know, now we've become best buddies. But anyway, Blanche Boyd, I mean, I had somebody recently I said, who's your favorite writer ever? She didn't know anything about my past. She goes, oh, Blanche Boyd. And I was like, really? She was my teacher. And, you know, she's pretty well known, I guess. But anyway, Blanche Boyd.
That's awesome.
I don't know
man.
if that's interesting. That's interesting that you never had any teachers.
I had teachers who I remember, but
not that like impacted you.
No. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Look, it's partially maybe me because school was an interesting experience for me all the way through. When I was a little kid, I skipped first grade altogether, and I didn't really, I really didn't even know English.
Yeah,
there was only one other Russian-speaking guy in my whole school, and they paired us up, and he was supposed to be my guy. So it took me a little while, and kids would bully and they would make fun and accent and all that stuff. So I would just get in a lot of fights. So I would get in trouble all the time. So I remember teachers that were trying to punish me all.
Yeah. Do you remember those? I remember the worst teacher, Miss Herb, second grade. The worst.
Oh, that's all I remember. So I had a Mr. Roberts too, by the way, and that was my gym teacher, and he was Jamaican, and he was like a medal winner, or at least he said at the time.
They always say that, right?
He won some sort of medal for Jamaica, but he was Mr. Roberts. He was so cool in the way he dressed, and he was just like. But what he would do is, he had this wiffle ball bat. I mean, so there was no way anybody could get away with it.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. Yeah,
but we would try to climb ropes, and he would smack us with a wiffle ball bat so we could go up faster. But I just really like the style. And if you're out of line, he would come up and smack you with a wiffle ball bat too. So, but he was really cool. I really remember him. And then there was another guy who was my French teacher. I can talk about names, right? Mr. Lupin.
Mr. Lupin. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Lupin is he's
I'm sure it's Mr. Lupin.
Lupin.
Yeah. Lupin.
Yeah, Lupin.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mr. Lupin is deceased from what I found out a few years back. And he passed away many years ago from AIDS. And I always had my suspicions, and this is not in any accusatory. So if anybody knows Mr. Lube, I don't know anything as a fact. This is just my own opinion.
Right.
The interaction. He would pick on me like all the time. And then one time he got me in the office and he started yelling at me, like really in my face, and telling me to go back to Russia. I'm like, I'm not even from Russia, but okay, but I'll go to Russia if you. But he was in my face, and he was yelling at me, and I got so mad. I picked up a chair and I threw it at him, and I missed, and I broke the glass in the office.
Wow.
So that's Mr. Lupin, but he passed away from AIDS, as far as I know. Could be wrong, but that's what I was told. Then there was the other teacher I remember is Mr. And these are all the teachers I remember for not the best reasons. There was Mr. Fox, who the reason why I remember him is he was the most monotone guy I've ever heard. He would just talk like this the whole time. And then if you're talking out loud and if you're making a noise, he would say zip, zip, and he would give you zips. And he would go on his board and he would write, Mr. May or Len, whatever, or Leonard, and he would write, this how many zips I have, and you get 4, and then the fifth one is a line through that, and then you stay after you have detention or something like that. So I would always be on the leaderboard of zips. So I remember I just couldn't keep quiet. I was disruptive in class. I couldn't keep quiet. I would always talk.
It's your ADD.
My ADD. But
you would have been diagnosed now. You would have had a shadow now or something.
Yeah, they wouldn't have. Well, they would put me on some sort of drugs as they do now.
Exactly.
Yeah, Ritalin. There you go. Now you can sit quiet and do anything. So I just was bored completely. And then my last teacher was Mr. Cohen, and that's the one that actually got me expelled because we had an incident. Look, I was an asshole kid because I was disruptive because ADD and other things. I was just super bored. So I may have told this story before, and if I did, I'm kind of repetitive. But it's the thing where the guy gave the test every other year, And I ended up getting his tests. So I would just show up, I would cut his class, and I would just show up to take tests. So when I took the tests, I would never get like 100%. I would try to get like an A minus, a B plus, just to get a couple of questions wrong on purpose. And I think he was on to me, but he never figured out what I'm doing to cheat. So one day I decided to go to class, and this person comes in and from the office, and they have a pink slip. Like when you get a pink slip, it means that you're getting called down to the office, like you're in trouble. So I said, "Hey, is this for me?" And he said, "Well, no, but it could be if you want it." And I'm like, "I don't give a shit." And he's like, "Oh, really? You don't give a shit? So now it's going to be you." I'm like, well, great. Fuck you. And, all this stuff. And I'm in disrupting class again. And he had enough of me. And he goes, "You're coming with me." I'm like, "All right." So I dropped my books, I give him the finger, everybody, and disrupting the class as I did many times. So we go into another office in the school. Nobody's there, no teacher, just me and him. And he closes the door and locks it. And comes up to me. I don't remember what he exactly said, but he was like, "You little motherfucker, you think you're so-and-so." And then he takes his hand, open palm, and he smacks me across the face really, really hard. It's hard, like really hard.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction to that is I punched him.
Wow.
I turned around, I smacked him, and he sat down, like he lost his balance, sat down in a metal circular trash can that they had in the office. So he sat in it like this, and then he got up, like shook it off, and then he opened the door and he started walking really fast back to his classroom. So I started following him, and he closed the door and he locks it, and he's on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm knocking the door. "Hey, let me in. What's up?" And then he calls down, security comes, and they take me out in the office, and I'm like, "The motherfucker hit me," and they didn't believe me, and I'm just defending myself. So they were suspending me, and it was the last day of spring break was starting, and I got whatever. I was so fucking pissed, and I was the only one out of my friends at a car, so I would drive everybody, my girlfriend's friend.
How old were you at this time?
This is 11th grade.
Okay.
In high school.
So you're like 16. Yeah, 17.
Yeah, whatever. So I was. This is the high school that I got kicked out of, and and they had a whole trial for me for this. So I'm driving in the parking lot, going home with all my friends, and I see Mr. Cohen. He had a hatchback, and he's putting like things in the back of his hatch. So I floor it. And I'm like, I am fucking running this bitch over. And I'm going for him. But I wasn't going to, but I just wanted to scare the shit out of him. I was so pissed. And I'm driving towards him. And my friend Steve, who was sitting in front, he grabbed the wheel. I wasn't going to hit him. He grabbed the wheel and kind of, went to the side. So but I saw Mr. Cohen as I was going close to me. He saw me and he sort of jumped in the back of the station wagon.
No
way. I can avoid it. So I never hit him, but he thought I was going to, and I thought it was a big victory that I won. I scared the shit out of this guy. So long story short, or long story even longer, one of the girls in the office, one of the girls on my street worked in the office, and she told my friend that I was expelled for running Mr. Cohen over with his car because he had to go to the hospital afterwards, and whatever had happened to his leg. He was full. Wow. So they were all trial for me. And the guy from the school district is like, "Look, man." Had
a trial, like a school trial or like a
school trial for the school district. I had to have character witnesses, my mom and all this stuff. And it was like, and the guy told me, he's like, "I know you didn't hit him. I know you didn't do anything, but they're not going to let you graduate from the school. I have a friend in this other school that's in a different district, but if they like you, you can go there." So the third report period, whatever that month is, right after spring break, I ended up transferring to another school, Northeast High, and I was there last 2 months of the year, and I graduated from there in senior.
Were you successful in running over any teachers at that second school?
I was not successful. No, not for lack of trying though. I did make some attempts, but I was I always failed.
Disappointing. I'm disappointed.
You know what it was? I had this Trans Am that had this the lights going around the license plate, and it was like 5% tint everywhere.
Yeah.
And so they saw me coming a mile away. They could hear my horn and my lights.
See, if you were driving a Prius today, they probably wouldn't have heard it. And then
Absolutely.
you would have hit them.
That's the best car to run over a teacher.
That's crazy. I don't have any stories. about hitting teachers or almost hitting them with a car. So I'm jealous in some ways. I think you've trumped all my stories about violence of teachers. The only bad experience I ever had, there was a teacher that we had named Mr. Blaha, rest in peace, who actually was hit by a car and died, but not by its student.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, it wasn't you. Yeah. He would say, he was like our first second grade music teacher, and he would say, "Hi, my name is Mr. Blaha." And I just could not stop laughing. Every time he said the name Blaha, I just thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. And
it's funny now.
It's funny now. And me and my friend Matt would and who's still a good friend of mine, we would laugh and laugh. We could not stop. And then he would say, "Okay, I'll wait until you're done." And when a teacher tells you can't laugh, it is hard. You're just shaking like,
oh, I've done it so many times.
And he every time, I just remember he put Mr. Blaha up on the board, and we just lost it. And then when I found out he was killed in a car accident, I felt incredibly guilty. But all right, well, we digress. So yeah, so I laughed a lot at teachers. I wanted to strike a lot of my teachers. I know that one of the teachers once my friend Peter was talking, and he spun around and threw his eraser at him. And he was a baseball teacher, so he had a really good arm, and it hit Peter right in the eye, gave him a shiner. I mean, can you imagine any of this stuff happening now? I mean, that guy would be like on like CNN. I mean, it would be like a huge like international incident, right?
I had so many experiences like that I even blocked out.
Right.
Of disciplinarians or vice principal grabbing me in the hall and like holding me by
right.
When
they used to hit people with a rod. They used to actually hit people on the head.
Oh, Mr. Roberts would hit me. Yeah. Well, I didn't, I didn't go to Catholic school, so I didn't get beat by a nun, or anything like that.
That sounds almost pleasant. Yeah.
I'm not
all right.
going there with that.
Yeah, I won't go there. Sorry.
Okay. So we have a Have You Heard? And then we have my challenge of your best hip hop song that you're going to be making. What do you want to do first?
Well, why don't we do Have You Heard? Because we finally fixed your audio problem. So I'm very excited about this. It's going to be much more smooth than before. We're like, hold on a second, Tommy. Can you? So I'll let you go first.
Okay. I'm trying to think, should I do the live version because he explains it, or should I do the actual version? You know what? I'll do the actual version, the real video version, and then I'll explain what he explained live. It'll probably be better. All right.
Wait, did you hit the button when you said? Here it is. First of all, so who was that? Tell us a little bit about who that was.
Yes. So this was Charles Bradley, and the song is called Changes. And the reason why there's a couple. Well, first of all, what did you think of the song? And
It's a
I'll tell
beautiful
you.
song, and the video is pretty powerful because it's just a close up of his face. He's
Yeah.
not even singing; it's just expression.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend that people see the live version. He explains it. So I'll tell you a couple of reasons why I chose that song. Number one, Charles Bradley passed away last year, and he was not famous most of his life, and just an incredible talent.
Yeah.
And he's became famous and popular because of this song, basically. Uh, the second reason why is that song is a cover song. The original song is done by Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, wow.
And it's a completely different version. He didn't know when he was asked to sing this song, and he didn't. When he heard the original version, he said no. And what happened was his mom was passing away, and he spent the last moments of her life like holding her hand. And that song, he said, the second verse of that song, which you didn't get to hear, connected with him so much. And when he does the live version of it, it's like you can feel all the emotion come out of it. It's such a beautiful, incredible, touching song. And then it's also the theme song of one of my favorite animated shows now called Big Mouth.
It is?
Kroll. Yeah, Nick Kroll created that show, Big
great
Mouth.
show.
Yeah, so that's the theme song of Big Mouth. So Charles Bradley. And,
I love it.
And I wanted to choose because it's Ozzy Osbourne's birthday today and my mom's birthday today.
Happy
share a birthday, so it all kind of goes together. So that's
what a great day.
Changes by Charles Bradley.
That is, and I recommend, seeing the live version. I'll have to watch that, but even the version you showed me, like his emotion is so amazing in that. It's kind of
powerful.
It changes it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like my choice is as interesting as yours. My choice, to be honest with you, was just these days. You and I know so much of the same music, so this is actually fairly challenging to do this have you heard thing with you, because everything that I like, you pretty much like, and especially if it's from the old school, you're gonna have heard it. But so now I've kind of resorted to my son, our wonderful times in the car together when I'm driving him to this thing or that. He always has to play me something. And I think I've said this in this podcast before. I don't want to be what my dad used to always do, which is to say, oh, this sounds like this, or, he would always he would never he liked what I played him, but he'd always kind of compare it to something else, or have you heard this? If you like this, you should hear this. And he's so I'm trying to just respect, this is what he likes. And he played me an artist that I was not that familiar with, or was not familiar with at all. And it's a guy by the name of Mr. Scruff. I will share my screen with you now. And hopefully you can hear this. I'm not supposed to tell you who it was. So just listen to this, and then you tell me what you think. We won't listen to the whole thing, but we'll listen to some of it.
I can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
No.
All right, we're going to do this.
And Zoom, there's that button.
It's that damn Zoom button. You know what I can do? Sorry, Tommy. Can you, we'll roll tape. We're going to roll back here. And I'm gonna go out of share screen, stop share. You saw that it was in advanced settings. Music.
When you click share screen, all the way in the bottom, there's a little check mark that says share computer sound.
Okay, you are sharing computer sound. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back. And I'm going to play this damn thing again and tell me if you can hear it this time. Here we go. Yes.
No.
Yes. This is really going well. Here's what I'll do is I'm just going to play you. I'm not even going to go to share screen because I don't need to go to share screen.
Yeah.
And I am going to just play you this goddamn song. Now I don't even like this song anymore. After doing this, I hate this song. All right, tell me if you can.
It's one of my favorites now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now you love it.
I love it because it's memorable.
All right, tell me if you know this goddamn song. Can you hear it?
No.
No?
No.
This is a fucking disaster.
You want me to play it?
Yeah.
All right.
Why don't you play it? You play it, because now it's like in my freaking headphones and it's driving me crazy. Hold on. I hate this song.
All right. Let me
go to
see.
Mr. Scruff. And now I have to get off my computer. Sorry.
What's the name of the song? Music Takes Me Up?
Yep. Except, hold on a second.
This?
Yeah, but I want,
All right,
but I have to turn off. Yes. Can you hold on for one moment, please? Okay. Please play it.
Okay. Let me know when. Good.
You go now. Yep.
All right. By the way, your video is not on, just so you know.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
John, everything is a disaster today.
It's fun, man. That's why I recommend everybody watch
watch it live.
An edited video of this.
Hopefully Tommy takes all this stuff out. So the audio version you leave is clean. Okay, here we go.
All right.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Think of life without music, silence the whole day long. Ears that don't hear rhythm, words without a song. Feet just don't know what to do. How could I live out my days? Would I be getting up, pushing my life away? When the drums come calling, the bass line pulls you in. Sounds of regal splendor, fit for a king and queen. Secrets of the universe, the mysteries of life, and the things that don't make sense all come clear 'cause the music takes me up.
All right. That was good, right?
I was great, man. It reminded me of like Us Three Cantaloupe type of vibe.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers that.
Totally
really
Us Three.
jazzy.
And it's, I think so. Mr. Scruff, my experience, I had my doing a little research on him. He's a DJ. He kind of has a little bit of a Fatboy Slim, like an English DJ from Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely has a little bit of a Fatboy Slim thing going on where he kind of takes like old kind of sounding retro jazzy things. Although I looked that up, the only thing he sampled from that was the drum beat. The rest of it is, I guess, original, which is cool.
There's a whole movement. There was a guy named FJK, which I'll play for you one time. That was a song I was gonna decide. So maybe we'll do that next time. But there's a whole movement of these people who are DJs and who also play all the instruments, and they kind of like,
I love that.
Used to be Fatboy Slim, DJ Shadow, like these guys. They're producers, but these new ones, they play all the instruments.
Freaking show offs. I
I
know
love
they
that.
do it all.
And by the way, the video is great. If anybody didn't see it, it's fruit. It's this lemon that has a face on it singing, and all these little fruit are playing the instruments.
It reminds me of the Angry Orange. It was before the Angry Orange. Remember the Angry Orange?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it came out in 2006. So yeah, it's a little pre-YouTube. So thank you. I really liked Mr. Scruff. So big ups to Elijah Small for turning his dad on to that.
I've heard Mr. Scruff before, but not that song. So
yeah, it's the jam. It's a jam.
Really, really good. All right. So I have a challenge for you.
Yes.
This is going to be difficult. And if you want me to go first, because I thought
you have to go first, because when you
right.
started telling me about it, I was like, I can't even. Oh,
so
man.
this is the challenge. And I think I read somebody doing it somewhere on the internet, and I thought it was like, man, this is pretty cool. Like, let's make a song. So the idea is you pick an MC. Obviously it's hip hop.
Yeah.
You pick your MC, you choose your chorus, featured artist, guest, or whatever you want to call that, featured artist on the track. Sometimes they call it a chorus artist, like many, like Beyonce, as I was saying, on Jay-Z's track or something like that, or Nate Dogg was probably one of my favorite guys that ever did that, because he could sing, but he was still hard. You know what I'm saying?
All the Death Row guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the producer who's producing the track, kind of thing. So that's the challenge.
Wow. You go. Oh, you totally go first.
Okay. Well, so I have two different variations, and I'll tell you why. One of them is my money making version, meaning that I believe that this is going to be a hit. Like if you put these three people together, this is a hit. My other version is what I really would love. Like this is my ideal. I don't know if it's going to be a hit, but I would love to see or hear this combination. So I'll go first with the one that I think is going to be a hit. So my MC is Snoop.
Yeah, I mean, I love him. Okay.
All right.
He always makes tracks better.
Right. My
feature the Chronic. Witness the Chronic.
Featured artist is Missy Elliott.
Wow. Ding, 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 dong.
And my producer for this is Pharrell.
Interesting. I think it's all great choices. A song that would blow up.
That's what I'm saying. I think once that comes together, it's going to be that song an anthem song that everybody listens to on the radio.
I love that you picked Pharrell. That's pretty cool.
Because I figured, man, I was like, you know what? Who is the most interesting producer? Who's got like, every single time he touches anything, and it's unique. And having Missy being really unique, and they have this Virginia connection too. And then you have Snoop, who's just, the flow is so recognizable that I think everybody will connect to. So that's sort of my
I think that would be a great, I need to think about this more. I'm going to do it off the spur of my, and then I get to do a do-over next week when I actually do think about this a little bit more. So I was thinking one of my favorite producers is outside of the hip hop realm is Trevor Horn. Do you know Trevor Horn?
No.
So Trevor Horn was in the Buggles, who sung "Video Killed the Radio."
Oh yeah.
And then he's the singer. The first video ever. He's that guy with the glasses. Then he went on to have this incredible. Then he went into Yes, the band Yes. Then he went on to have this incredible career as a producer. And one of the songs that he produced that I just had such an impact on me as far as production goes was the song "Crazy" by Seal. If you ever listen to that song with headphones on, the production on that song is so incredible. And I just love Trevor Horn. I mean, if you look at his Wikipedia page, you'll see he's done so many hit songs. And he's just one of these guys that has a great sound. So I feel like I trust him with anything. Like you just give Trevor Horn. I was going to say Quincy Jones. That's kind of corny. But you know that Trevor Horn is going to blow it up. Amazing. My featured rapper, that's a tough one. Because I've heard new Rakim and he doesn't sound, his flow isn't like it was back in the 80s. And so I would worry that he wouldn't have the same kind of flow that I loved, that I fell in love with in 1989 or 1988. Yeah. So Jay-Z. No, not Jay-Z. I think I'm going to go with Q-Tip because Q-Tip still does have the flow. And if you listen to Q-Tip's latest album, and I know you had sent me a link that he's now going to do a posthumous album with Phife Dawg as well, which I'm really excited about. But Q-Tip, I think, would just be incredible. Now, Trevor Horn and Q-Tip together, I don't know. Trevor Horn probably hasn't produced a record in 20 years, so I don't know if that would work. But I would just hope for the best. And then my featured artist, there's one guy when he sings backup on any song, it's always a hit, and he's completely. Not underrated because he's in my world, he's like a god, but his name is Michael McDonald.
Oh, fuck, man.
If you had Michael McDonald,
Sweet Freedom.
If you put Michael McDonald on the background, I don't even think people realize how many songs he sung backup for in the 70s and early 80s. The guy was like a fucking genius.
Doobie's just got into the Hall of Fame too. And then
and he deserves it.
Two different Doobie brothers. They had before Michael McDonald and then after Michael McDonald, because one of the guys in the band left and then Michael McDonald came in.
So you bring Mike McDonald, he's the back of Ride Like the Wind. And of course all the Doobie brothers he sung. Don't even get me started. I love Michael McDonald. I love his voice. And I have a soft, we don't talk about Yacht Rock, but I do have a sort of a soft spot for Yacht Rock.
Yacht Rock.
I love it.
I just love that category. It's called Yacht Rock.
I know. It's not really a real thing, but it's made up.
Because I was telling my partner about it and he's like, I'm like, you're a Yacht Rock guy. And he's like, what does that even mean? I'm like,
it wasn't called Yacht Rock back then. It was called soft rock.
Yeah.
I'm like easy rock.
Buffett, America, all these He's like, yeah, I love those guys.
I know.
Yeah,
Steely
exactly.
Dan.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
Steely Dan. I
Steely
love
Dan.
that music. But anyway,
Yeah.
he's the god of Yacht Rock. And I went to a Yacht Rock concert at the Bowl with him and Kenny Loggins and Chris Sale and Chris. No, not Chris Christopherson.
No. Chris,
you know,
it's not Chris Christopherson. It's Chris.
Sailing takes me away to where I'm green. You know, it's
Christopher Cross.
Christopher Cross. And Christopher Cross is, again, one of the gods. These are the three gods of Yacht Rock, Kenny Loggins. But anyway, I love Michael McDonald. That was me on the spot, just thinking like, who is one of my favorite backup singers of all time? There's a great sketch about Michael McDonald's doing Ride Like the Wind. I recommend it. It was on SCTV. Look it up on YouTube. It's one of the funniest things you have ever seen in your life. Anyway, that's my very odd trio.
No, I like it.
I think if I really had to put together a hit record, I probably pick the guy who just produced the latest Taylor Swift record, whatever his name is from Sweden? That guy is the hit maker of all time. Mark Sweden. Hold on, Taylor Swift producer. Is it Max Martin? So Max Martin is the guy you want right now if you want a hit song. But I don't know if I like his music that much, but he definitely has some very, very good.
Well, that's why I picked Pharrell. I think.
Pharrell's great. I actually had the pleasure of sitting in on a Pharrell session once that he was just for about an hour that he was doing with Usher and kind of watching him work. Yeah. And that was I had a couple
cool. of runs with Usher too, but we don't have to talk about it now. But there was a show on Netflix, and we can talk about it. That they picked the greatest gospel choir of all time. It's like singers, and they have to qualify to it. And it's Pharrell is on that show, and it's Pharrell's uncle's church, and the people's voices that are on it. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Is it great? What's it called? God. We got it. It is called. I'm gonna, you know what? Because we're gonna give recommendations. This is why the internet is here. Netflix, gospel.
You look it up. Well, I'll give you my real choice for the top three, who I would love to hear this song coming up right now. Yeah. So my rapper would be Kendrick Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, I think he's right now, currently, I mean, he's not a young rapper anymore, but it's Mount Rushmore.
He's young to me, by the way.
Yeah,
like to me, he's young.
he's a current. I think he's a current rapper. When I tell my daughter, he's like, no, he's been around for a while. I'm like, all right, okay, he's not.
But she loves him, right? I mean, my kids have.
Yeah. He's fantastic, and my chorus singer / guest. I was trying to come up with one. I have one or the other, Labyrinth and Sam Smith, because they do this duet together. It's just amazing. They sing in this. They both complement each other's voices, but either Labyrinth or Sam Smith, one of those. But I think it would be fantastic because I don't think they ever did that before, either of them. Yeah. And then my producer would be my favorite producer, Rick Rubin.
Oh man!
And
why did I not say Rick Rubin? See, you got me on the Rick Rubin. Damn it!
I mean, Rick Rubin.
Though he has done incredible. I don't think people even realize the songs that Rick Rubin's produced. It's so shocking. Like it like Tom Petty songs and I mean,
everything. Yeah, I would highly recommend. There's a docu series on Showtime. It's called Shangri-La.
Yes, my friend. Shout out to my friends who are executive producers on that show. I'm very familiar with it, and I love it. Shout out to my friend Diana Schmiedeman and Jason.
If anybody knows Rick Rubin, please let's.
I know they didn't even get to meet him. They produced him.
My favorite all time. Man,
he is the legend. He's somebody that I would be intimidated to talk to. Like there's a few people in the world that would intimidate me. He would make me nervous. I would do it. I just tried to get an interview with Obama. He's another one that I wanted to talk to for a long time.
Nice.
Yeah. But anyway,
so my intimidating moment, my daughter still laughs at me to this day, and then that'll be the end, but it's related to Rick Rubin. So I'm a big Def Jam fan, obviously. So, I was at Sun Cafe in the Valley. It's like a vegan restaurant, and every once in a while you run into like Annie Lennox was there. Rhythmics, if people don't know, a bunch of different people. So I walk out, and Russell Simmons is there. Wow. And I walked up to Russell Simmons, and I said, "Thank you so much for your contribution," and shook his hand. He was so gracious. My daughter was like, what the fuck is he? Is he a veteran? What do you mean? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for the service. I didn't know what to say. I was so.
Yeah. It's like you need to say something.
I need to say something because it's like, oh my God, it's Russell Simmons. And he was so gracious, so nice, but I didn't know what to say to him. So I thanked him for his contribution.
I know that's better than saying something like, "Oh my God, I'm so great. You know, I've been listening to Def Jam records for." Yeah, I would just get all tongue tied.
I had no idea what to say, but it was he was really nice, and So anyway, that's pretty much it.
Well, we should do that. I think have we done that where the people that you would most like to interview, and then also the people that you would least like to interview?
I mean, I have a list of people I'd like to have interview on.
Yeah, you have. Yes, we have this a great master list. It's a good wish list.
Yeah, well, you know what?
I think the people we most least like to interview too. Like, who would just annoy us to no end? But with that would be interesting.
Hillary. I'm just kidding.
Or Hillary. Hillary, yeah, no, I would like to interview.
Because I don't think it'd be genuine. That's the only reason.
It would be a hard interview.
Yeah, there would not be any genuine answer that was given. It would all be scripted with.
I don't think she's even capable of giving a genuine answer. And I voted for Hillary Clinton, but I don't think that's her strong suit. Yeah, well, I guess Donald Trump then would be somebody that I would probably have a lot of trouble interviewing.
I think it would be really fun.
It would just be so unpleasant. But whatever. We can. So this is great. This has been a great episode. I think we have a guest coming up on our next episode. I'm excited about that. Yeah. And thank you, Len.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Everyone, please share more songs. I'd love to stump John. It's getting really difficult.
Yeah.
So subscribe and give us some songs. Give us some obscure songs that John or I haven't heard. We'd love to share. So thank you all so much. And
we have to have a salutation. We have to have a ending like a logo, like be well, live long, and be well.
Oh, okay.
Until we meet again.
Well, peace out.
Peace out. But we'll think of a better one. All right. See you next time.
Take care.
Peace.